Everyone to put their cell phones on silence. Roll call.
Chairperson Wilson,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Schroeder,
Present.
Board Member Cross,
Here.
Board Member Heck,
Here.
Board Member Johnson,
Here.
Board Member Nesser,
Present.
Board Member Suller.
Here.
You have a quorum, Your Honor.
Thank you. Consideration and approval of minutes for a special meeting of June 17th, 2025. Do I have a motion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
I move that the minutes of June 17th, 2025 special meeting be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Roll call.
Board Member Suller,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Schroeder,
Yes.
Board Member Nesser,
Yes.
Board Member Cross,
Yes.
Board Member Heck,
Yes.
Board Member Johnson,
Yes.
Chairperson Wilson.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimous.
Thank you. Presentation, discussion, and consideration of resolution number SVCFD 2025-007. Zach.
Chairman, Board, Zach Sakis, Special District Counsel with Greenberg-Traurig. A fun one tonight, not bond-related. I'm going to do a quick walk down memory lane just to refresh the board's collective memory of what we've done in the past for CFD number 2, and then transition that into what we're asking of you to consider tonight. So when we formed the district, CFD number 2, in 2021, you'll recall that while D.R. Horton in CFD number 1, they owned all the land as D.R. Horton, the corporate entity, right? Big, publicly traded. You can read their stock ticker every day. Brookfield, as the owner, is structured a little differently. And so they own the land in CFD number 2 through a special purpose entity that sort of only has one asset, and that's the land, and that's called Brookfield ASLD 8500 LLC. So at the time when we set up the district, you'll recall we wanted extra protections for both the district and the city of Apache Junction, where if anything ever went sideways or if we needed some cash contributions to fund district operations, we wanted it from a Brookfield entity that had liquidity, cash available, not just the land held by the special purpose Brookfield ASLD entity. So at the time of formation, we also had an affiliated Brookfield company called Brookfield Homes Holdings as a party to the development agreement that governs CFD number 2. We've since amended that development agreement one time, and that was when Brookfield said, hey, we want to maybe encourage some commercial development, so we amended the boundaries to carve out a few sections. There's one kind of at the southwest corner, a little bit in the middle, and so that was the first amendment that we did to that development agreement. What's happened now is Brookfield's asked us to consider a second amendment, and the rationale is at the end of last year, 2024, Brookfield restructured some of their corporate entities, and they had some additional investment in this particular project from a third-party investment group called North America Sekisui House. And so now what's been requested is, okay, so Brookfield has told us with the way we reorganized, this project no longer sort of rolls up in our internal hierarchy to Brookfield Homes Holdings. We would like to realign it with our sister entities that do match up to this project. And so that is Brookfield Communities U.S. Holdings, and then the equity investor, North America Sekisui House. So the request is to substitute Brookfield Homes Holdings as a party to the development agreement for CFD number 2 for these two new entities, Brookfield Communities Holdings, U.S. Holdings, and North America Sekisui House. The district staff has done due diligence. We requested financial information from these two entities, right? We want to make sure that we're not switching out, something that had cash if we ever needed to call upon them to honor their indemnification agreements for these two entities that don't. And these two entities, upon determination of district staff and review by outside financial advisors, have sufficient liquidity that if we ever had to call on the indemnification, their indemnification obligations to pay over to the district, they have sufficient financial resources. The additional potential benefit from the district or the city point of view is where we used to have, sort of for lack of a better, we used to have one deep pocket on the hook, and now we have two. And they agreed to do it joint and severally. So to the extent we ever had to call on one of these entities for financial support to the project or to the district, we could go to either of them to seek those funds. So nobody fell asleep during that. I have a slide of their corporate reorganization, but it looks like a plate of spaghetti. And so it's a little confusing, but what we're doing is we have a backup, strong financial partner on the hook to provide support to the district. Brookfield, as our partner in this development, has said that's no longer the right partner for us because we've reorganized. Please, can we substitute that for these two other entities that better match up with our internal financial strength and incentives? And so that's the request in front of you tonight. So it's a second amendment to the CFD development agreement to substitute Brookfield Homes Holdings for, again, Brookfield Communities US Holdings and the North America Sekisui House. We've reviewed the financials. We do have a representative from Brookfield here tonight for anything that I just stumbled through horribly, and then happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
I suppose, is this an overseas parent company that's buying into this, or, because it sounds like it, based on the name?
My understanding it is an investment vehicle, I'm not sure if it's their U.S. operations and it's a global entity. I may defer to Brookfield. Is that?
By Japan? Thank you.
Mr. Chair, if you could get that on the record. So if
Do you want me to?
Can you come up?
if you could come up.
So basically what you stated back there, if you could speak into the mic and say the same thing.
So North America Sekisui House, or NASH, how we refer to them as, they're operating in the U.S. Out of San Francisco, but they're owned by a Japanese company.
Okay.
Okay. Any up?
Chair, just a quick question. So, Zach, do you ever have to explain any of this to the residents or prospective residents down at Blossom Rock, or for that matter, Radiance? I mean, do they ever ask these questions about this?
Chairman, board, we rely on y'all to go out and do open meetings. No, I'm just kidding. Open houses. No. So this really, I mean, we're not even in like light weeds. We are deep in the weeds with this discussion, Chairman and board. So this is, again, when we set the district up, definitely the property owners, if they go to buy a house, there is disclosure that you are moving into a special taxing district. There are anticipated additional taxes. There are anticipated assessments, and those will be, approximately this amount per year. But these sorts of details are things that we set up as protective measures at the time of formation where, so for example, we know the districts don't generate a ton of property tax revenues at the beginning. How are we going to pay for district operations? We're going to have the developer entity, whether it's D.R. Horton or Brookfield, make cash contributions to pay for things. Well, what if Brookfield, just because they hold the property differently, it has a bunch of land in how they own it, but not a bunch of cash over here. So we wanted one of their sister entities with a ton of cash. And so we're substituting out that entity for, in this case, two other affiliated entities that both have a ton of cash. So, but no, this would not be included in a homeowner disclosure, and I don't know, unless maybe really if kids couldn't fall asleep, I don't think it would ever be discussed with
I didn't think so.
homeowners
I
out there.
was curious
Yeah.
if anybody ever asked.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I could I ask, could you step up? Sure. First of all, state your name, because we didn't get your name.
Paul Willis, I'm Development Director for Brookfield Properties, Arizona.
And if you could describe what you did, how you examined the documents, and what was your conclusion, and how did you go about deciding your opinion on whether these entities are stable?
Well, we have in-house counsel at Brookfield, based in California.
Can you talk into the microphone? Sorry.
We have in-house counsel at Brookfield, actually confer with, we have a CFD attorney as well that we have on staff, and they conversed and decided which Brookfield and Nash entities would be appropriate to put forward as to identify for the district.
What kind of factors do they look at when they look at these companies?
Financials.
When you say financials, what do you mean by that, if you could explain that to the board?
Basically, so I'm not an attorney and I'm not a financial analyst either, but they do have public financials that they look at between the entities, and we're looking for, like Zach said, liquidity on their books.
Chairman, Board, if I may add to that, and again, I'm your attorney, Paul's talking about, he has separate CFD, a counsel for Brookfield. But so we were provided copies of balance sheet statements, profit and loss statements, and so we looked through, how of your assets, right? If you have a bunch of assets that are illiquid land, well, if we ever had to call on that, they'd have to go sell the land to get cash. So we looked specifically for, okay, how much are you holding in cash? How much do you have available from these two entities, for example, from a line of credit, right, with a big, strong bank, where if you didn't have cash, you could even go and get cash from that. What sort of, short-term investments do you have that could be sold quickly? Land is hard to sell, but U.S. Treasuries are easy to sell if you need to come up with a bunch of cash quickly. Those are the sorts of things that both they provided to us to review, but then in addition, with district staff, we reviewed
And this
those
analysis
materials.
is the same as we did at the beginning, and there's, from my standpoint, we're basically managing the risk the same as what we did before. So if it was called before and we were good with that risk before, we're good now. And, Zach, that's kind of maybe the way to describe it.
Yeah, I would say, if not in a better position than,
So we're even better
yeah.
positioned.
So based on the balance sheets, you were satisfied that there is sufficient funds, correct, for any kind of indemnification issue?
Obviously, the intent is never to call on it, but there were hundreds of millions of dollars
Okay, that's what I
available for
wanted.
Yeah,
indemnification.
we're in much better shape. Thank you.
Yeah, and if I can provide any more perspective, Nash is an investor in Brookfield Properties, master plan communities throughout the U.S. So at least 10 or 15 others, all throughout the West Coast, Texas. We're even working with Zach on our other community in the West Valley, doing the same exact thing. Actually, is that where you came from?
Chair?
Anyone else?
Chair? So, based on the discussion, at any point in time, was there a worry that there might be some insolvency here? Or,
No, there was no concern of insolvency that drove this. This was a request from Brookfield where they had restructured their corporate entities, and however they book this internally, again, I'm not an accountant, but however they wanted sort of the indemnification obligations to sort of track up to the right entity. And so Brookfield Homes Holdings was no longer sort of the overseeing parent entity of the Blossom Rock development, and now these two are. So it sort of all matches up in their internal corporate structure. But yeah, there was never a call or a risk that the district was exposed to that we're aware of.
Your Honor, just one other process, because this is this change, it requires city council as well, so we have it on the agenda in the next agenda.
Correct. Thank you, Brian. Yes, so the parties to the agreement include the city, the district, the Brookfield entity that just owns the land and does development, and then potentially, to the extent this board approves it, the two new financial backers, if you will, that Brookfield is providing. And so after the board considers it for this will also be on your city council agenda this evening.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I have a question, but I have no clue how to ask it because I don't understand half of this. But Brookfield, the first amendment was with Brookfield. Now it's getting passed down to somebody else. And you say they're secure, but let's say 10 years from now, something happens to them and something happens and they don't have any money. Who's responsible? The city?
So I think.
Go ahead, Zach.
Okay. Chairman, board, let me make sure I try to. So the question is, if we ever had the indemnification, or we requested it from these financial backers, and they weren't available. So let me go one step back. So first, the Brookfield entity that's doing development, no change there. That's the same. That was the same when we set up the entity, same when we did the boundary amendment with the prior amendment, and then it'll be the same after we do this amendment. The developer entity is the same. It's really just these sort of backup sources of financial strength. To your question, so ongoing reporting, ongoing provision of, documentation of their financial strength. We would not want the district to ever be put in a situation where they would be surprised that the financial backers, no longer had the financial strength they told us about. So that, I guess, was that responsive to your question?
Well, as long as, because we're responsible to the community and all the citizens
Yeah.
here, and I don't want to have to go to them and say, oh,
Well, there's
You
risk
know?
in everything. And I
now we
would just
need
say
more
what
tax money to do something.
the risk you had before and the risk you have now, I would say the benefit is better now for the city and the district.
Okay.
Because of this change.
And then
Maybe
you-
that's another way to look at it.
And then Chairman Board, your follow-up question helped me. So separate political entities, the district is separate from the city has no obligation to raise taxes and make,
Well,
pay for
okay.
anything for the district. Thanks for, that helped me.
If I could just add, ask you a question. So how is that, I think Ms. Nesser wants to know, how does that get checked? Does it get checked every year, their financial status, or how does that work?
We're in the process of setting up the details of, is it a quarterly report? If the reports are available publicly, can we easily access them publicly without having to bother anybody over there? Do we get annual reports? So that's part of the communication that's ongoing to pin down the ongoing reporting.
So you don't fast forward 10 years and then look at them?
No.
It's starting now, every quarter, or
annually,
bi-month,
right.
biannually?
Right.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
I don't know what my questions are.
Any other discussion? Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that resolution number SVCFD 2, 2025-007, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Superstition Vistas Community Facilities District Number 2, approving the Second Amendment to the amended and restated district development, financing participation, waiver, and intergovernmental agreement related to the substitution of the guarantor and indemnitor, and approving and authorizing all actions in connection with such substitution be approved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, roll call?
Board Member Nesser?
Yes.
Board Member Johnson?
Yes.
Board Member Cross?
Yes.
Board Member Heck?
Yes.
Board Member Suller?
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Schroeder?
Yes.
Chairperson Wilson?
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously, Your Honor.
Well, thank you. We have nothing else to do, so I'll close this meeting. Thank you.